Hey, good morning, everyone. It's like 7:24 in the morning. I just got up about 20 minutes ago, stirring around and getting my day started. I still have sleep in my eyes, and it's kind of it looks like it's going to be a pretty morning outside. Of course, there's no rain no sign of rain, and it's going to be bright and sunny, so it's going to be a beautiful August day. August is usually a beautiful time of the year, but it's just too hot. Anyway, my thoughts were turned on to, of course, my family. And I was thinking about, the anger that I have and resentment towards them for my entire life. For some reason, my mind was focused on my brother, Rashawn. And Rashawn, to me, is somebody who speaks a lot but knows very little. And I'm sure that he, because I know that he's connected to the mayor in the other town that I grew up in. And my family tends to stir up a lot of trouble, and for trouble that just because I'm different than them. And I'm actually quite glad that I'm different from my family. My family is a family that basically lives in ignorance. This is no slap in the face to my mother, but my mother was a housewife, which is nothing wrong with that, okay? But she never experienced the world. She seems like she's a very bitter person. She's always been that way, and that was something I noticed when I was a little kid, some of the comments that she would make, and I realized that she was somebody who, spoke a lot but knew very little. And of course, this is, transposed onto my brothers and sisters. They have an incorrect way of thinking. And for many years, I never realized just how ignorant they really were, regardless of, how they appear to other people. I recall, being very depressed around them, and even wanting to, separate myself, going to my own room when I was a kid. So I'm starting to get, more of a clearer understanding of the psychotic behavior of my family, which, there's plenty of psychotic families out there. And, a lot of people think that, just because people are in family pictures and they're smiling, well, they don't realize that they're there just for the picture setting, okay? There's a lot of things that goes on behind closed doors that that could be quite disturbing. And, I'm very glad to separate from them. They've caused me nothing but pain for my entire life. And, that's not to say, like I said, I've made mistakes when I was growing up, but I don't think that my mistakes were any different than the majority of teenage kids or whatever. It's just that, I'm different. I've always been more interested in, I guess, things that, I was interested in religion. I had, an interest in different kinds of music. I mean, of course, my family liked music anyway, but still, I was a completely different person than the rest of my family. And some families accept that and some families don't. I'm very glad to say that I'm nothing like them. I would, because they tend to be people who go along, with the majority of thought without giving it any thought. Now, when it comes to my brother, I've always cared about my family, regardless of, the obvious signs of family abuse. I never really took it very seriously. I just always thought, well, they're just kidding me, or, that's what you expect from siblings or whatever. But now that I'm looking back on it, I can see that, I was never really a part of that family setup. And really, when I think about it, because of the gossip and the backbiting and everything, I've noticed there were times where I was pulled aside, at family gatherings or whatever, and there's a lot of talk and backbiting about each other, to me. So it's a family that doesn't really love each other. It's just a family that kind of goes along with each other. They talk and they gossip. Like my brother talks about my sister Lisa, and Tanya talks about Lisa. And I've heard several comments about each other. And it's one of those families that just want to destroy. They like the drama. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, when it comes to the surface of your mind, you need to talk about it. Because, a family narcissistic abuse can have damage, can create damage that can last a person their entire life. Now, I will say that I'm not internalizing any of what they've done, because I can, there are some people who do, they think, oh, I'm going to be hard on myself, and, I come from a bad family. But you have to consider the source, okay? I'm considering who these people are and looking at them, with a different set of eyes than I did when I was a kid. And now I realize that that they are psychotic. Like when I was little, I didn't have a name to put on it. I just thought, well, my family causes trouble. My family makes fun of me a lot. They put me down a lot. They tend to, never want to see me happy. They never wanted to see me happy, not one day of my life. I remember taking interest in certain things, and if I was like, my brother noticed it, he would do something to me, like sabotage it or whatever. It's like he has this very strange need to control things. And, it's just time, when I'm very glad to say it's time to get away from that family, period. And there is no, I'm not looking back on any sentimental feelings or anything like that. And that also includes, the people that were associated with my family. Like I used to have a little crush on my brother's friend when I was growing up, and the more I think about it, because he was involved in my targeting, which I believe that he was. The people that you thought were so wonderful when you were growing up, you start seeing them in a completely different way, and it's sad because those are warm, fuzzy memories that you have of people, and you thought you put them on pedestals, but they don't deserve to be there. They don't deserve to be idolized, loved, and cherished with fond memories. In reality, you start looking at them, differently. And I look at these people in a completely different way now. They're people that I strongly want to avoid, and at first, it kind of shakes your foundation, because that was your reality. I mean, that was my reality. It was my reality thinking that, this is my family, this is my surrounding, this is who, this is where I come from. But really, no. People need to start, take the blinders off and start seeing people for what they really are. And I do. I see them for what they really are. And I choose not to have anything to do with them. Now, I know that I've, called out to my family in the last some of my videos. And yeah, it's their responsibility to do what they can to clean up their shit. You know what I mean? I aligning me with certain employers and having this whole gang stalking thing. Everybody in my family, my mother, even Tanya, Lisa, Rashawn, all of them, they all struggle with their weight issues, and they've gotten to the point where they accept it as normal. They do. They accept that as normal. And that's not me. I'm not, trying to bash on people who are overweight, because a lot of people are struggling with that. And it's a lot of people, like I said in one of my other videos, I retract a lot on my videos, because, some things just, they bear repeating, I guess. But, we're living in a time where there's a lot of, bad things in the food, and it is making people have uncontrollable appetites, okay? And I fully understand that. I don't believe that a lot of people, I sympathize with a lot of people's issues, because I know what's going on out there, okay? And people really don't realize what's happening to them. But my family has an improper view of how things are supposed to be. If a person takes care of themselves, and somehow or another they're a bad person, okay? Because in their mind, you're supposed to be slothful, be unkempt. You're supposed to, open yourself up to heart attacks and all other kinds of stuff. And that's very sad to say, but it's true. Okay, so if you take care of yourself, somehow, they want to make up all kinds of issues and cover it up with issues like maybe religion or some other bullshit excuse, so that they can justify their jealousy and their weird behavior. You know what I mean? They go out of their way to destroy people's lives. I don't know exactly what part of Nevada my brother lives in. I know he's bounced around to Nevada for a while. I don't know the name of the company. I think he worked for a casino or something. I don't pay attention to what my brother does. And I don't pay attention to what Tanya does or Lisa does, really. I don't. You know what I mean? They were just my family that I would see every once in a while. And I rarely saw my brother, in the last, since my father died, and even before then, I rarely saw him. He was more somebody that I would see every once in a blue moon, like maybe once every 10 years or something crazy like that, okay? So for him to have any sort of, animosity towards me and hatred, because what I feel is what they've done and what he's done is a form of hatred, and I strongly resent it. So this morning I was just focusing on that, and some people would say, well, just get over it. It's very difficult to get over, and it's not because my heart's broken because of my family. My heart's broken because of the things they've done to me. And then I have to come to the realization that these people are evil. They're evil. You know what I mean? Plain and simple. They've never done anything that was of any benefit to me. They've created problems in every job that I've ever had. I never asked for them to want to tag along or be a part of my life. I don't want them. As an adult, I have the right to say, I don't want them. I don't want them. I don't want them at all. That goes for all of my sisters, and I'm even going to throw my mother in that. I mean, why would I want a mother who instructs somebody to behave the way that she did, whether she did it unknowingly or she did it on purpose? It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I remember when I was younger, I was a teenager, and I remember telling my mother I hate her. I don't think I hate my mother, but I don't think that she's a good mother. I don't. She's a terrible mother. And if somebody who sits there and behaves the way that she does, she didn't play a very active role in my life. She was very, she slept a lot, and I know she drank a lot. And that's something that I don't necessarily hold against her. I mean, people get depressed and they try to self-medicate. And this is for me talking. I'm talking about, me releasing my feelings on the situation. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to bash my mother. Those are her children. Tanya, Rashawn, Lisa are her children. Okay? I don't want to be considered her child anymore. I don't. If I choose to give her a Christmas card, then I'll do that. But I'm done. I'm done with the backstabbing and the non-support of my family. When I was growing up, I felt as though her support was never there. Like, if there was a family event, well, not family, a school event or whatever, oftentimes, my mother was never present. She was never participated in any of the things that seemed important to me. And looking back, I knew something was wrong with that. I knew something was seriously wrong with that, and I didn't like it. But now that I'm older, I realize that my mother was just somebody who was just kind of going through the motions. I think her aspirations were noble, and she wanted to do a good job as a parent. I really do. I mean, because I was looking at some letters that she wrote my dad when they were dating back in the 50s. It was funny. And, I can tell she was a woman who was filled with all kinds of hopes and dreams and this ideal type lifestyle, I think everybody, wants, to have a little home and a little family, and because that's what everybody convinces you that you want. And then, of course, you've got, ridiculous TV shows that, and reinforce that. And just things that enforce and encourage that sort of dream, like that, that American dream or whatever. But when reality hits you and you're stuck with a bunch of crying kids, and that it suddenly the whole novelty of that wears off, and you're not really prepared to deal with all of that. So when I came around, my mother was already probably sick and damn tired of children running around in diapers. So I was one that was resented. And she had no problem, basically, being the director and leader in this campaign against the little one, regardless of all the material things that I received as a child. Because I will tell you, oftentimes I went to school a little too frilly dressed, meaning that, on rainy days, I'm sitting here wearing, like stockings and patent leather shoes and frilly dresses, and oftentimes this is a cover-up for a lot of people. That's one of the reasons why I don't believe in people and their stupid bumper stickers bragging about their kid and all this other stuff. I don't believe in any of that shit. I don't. You know what I mean? Just because you give a person, oftentimes gifts and things like that are a cover-up to pretend to the rest of the world that everything is okay, when in fact it's really not, And so I don't, none of that means anything for me, except for the fact that I was able to have shelter, I was provided shelter and everything else. But what was really brewing underneath it was somebody who was strongly resentful of the child that she had. So, and then of course that's reflected in the behavior of her narcissistic, fucked up children. So yeah, those were my thoughts today, and I had to release that because it's a lot on me. It's a lot on me to know that my family is what put me in this situation. Okay, everything that I've struggled with my entire life is a result of what my family's done, and that's a very it's eye-opening. It's eye-opening, and it's kind of painful at first, but then at another angle, it is also a relief to me to understand that there was nothing I could have done. Nothing. Even if I was a kid who, because I'll tell you, when I was a really young kid, I was a good student. You know what I mean? I was a good student. That didn't make any difference. None of that made any difference. There was nothing I could ever do or say that was going to change my position in that family. Nothing. Because everything I did was wrong. And they always wanted, I think there was just some sort of competition that was started. And to me, to compete against somebody that they perceived to be weak, like for example, if my family thought something was wrong with me, and then they want to sit here and throw like Excel contest on somebody that they assume to be weaker than them, or less mentally capable of them, then that just goes to show you how fucked up they are. Okay, it's kind of funny because my intelligence far surpasses theirs, and it's funny how things turn out, and I mentioned before that you can live in a house with a person for many years and never really know them, and that's the case with me, because they kept me in a state of fear, sadness, anxiety, and constant worry. And of course, they did what they could to sabotage my relationships with other people. And so, you don't realize what's going on around you, when you're growing up. And so they feel like they have the upper hand. And so when you leave that nest, they don't have anything else to focus on, so they come and they follow you. They want to be involved with everything that you're doing. I don't want my family involved with what they're doing. Now, what they caused here is a mess, okay? And, I got Tanya, running her fat mouth and telling people shit. Well, you know what? That just goes to show you who she really is. My sister Tanya is a fake. And I used to think she was somebody who at least strived to be a good person. She's not. That's eye-opening to me, but I'm over it, okay? She's just a phony Christian like the majority of them. Most people are phony when it comes to their faith, and it's sad, but it's true, and it's something that I completely understand, okay? So that I don't fall for any of that bullshit. As for Lisa, I suppose Lisa had issues because she's always been somebody who struggled with her weight. And I know that she's always felt a little bit competitive towards me. Now I'm starting to realize that. I never realized exactly how much. And I'm hopefully, and it's too bad because, all my brothers and sisters, I've always loved her more than any of them, And now I realize that, everything that I had in my life was just an illusion. That's hard. But you know what? I'm over it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. And, I think really a lot of times, and I'm not saying that I'm not taking responsibility for a lot of the things that I've done. I've done things in my life that I'm not proud of, but I've learned from them. And once you learn from them, you move on, and that's what creates a better person. And I know not to repeat my mistakes. Hopefully they will too. Wrapping up this video, I'll be back with another one later.